not entertained?
And we are back for another episode of Let's Talk on Are You Not Entertained? This week, we are doing Saints Row, breaking down the series as a whole and going down the once loved, quote unquote, GTA clone. That's not exactly what it was. We're going to start off with Saints Row 1. Saints Row 1 came out on the 360. It was a console exclusive, and it was a new IP from Volition, once called a GTA clone, a term used to describe games in similar tone of GTA. But the studio and others didn't like such a tagline. It made it seem as though the game wasn't original. Saints Row took place in the city of Stillwater. You play a character from which you create yourself with a character creation and join the Third Street Saints, a small gang in the city that wants to take the city from the three other top leading gangs. The Saints Row series pioneered and created character for open world sandbox crime games, at least in my opinion. I don't recall other games letting you make your own character besides RPGs before the Saints Row series. Saints Row had manual aim, no lock on like GTA. Another way for them to differentiate themselves. You played a quick tutorial, made a character, and was set loose in the world of Stillwater. From stealing cars to robbing stores, playing activities. They were the side missions for the game. You played to earn respect, which allowed you to play the story missions and earn cash. Cash you could use to buy cars, clothes, weapons, and everything else in between. Saints Row World was very, very unique. It had a fully detailed world map and a mini map. Buildings that you can actually go inside of. I need to state that because in today's age, with as big and glamorous these open world games are, you can't interact. Saints Row had fast food joints you can buy, get eats, convenience stores to get snacks, 40s and blunts that would heal you and have other various effects during gameplay. Saints Row had a huge playground at the time that allowed for full freedom for the player to have, but it came at a detrimental cost. Most of the game was riddled with horrendous and glitches. So came with new hardware / new IPs and open world games. Still to this day, no open world game comes out without at least a few hiccups. Saints Row bugs were the game crashing, cars getting stuck in the environment, or just straight chaos erupting in front of the player's eyes. Gameplay was now standard third person, manual aiming, but the game was very hard. From running away from aggressive cops to unaliving gangs during missions, Saints Row was going toe to toe with the biggest open world game series, Grand Theft, and they were going to carve out a slice of that market for themselves. Saints Row did a lot to separate themselves from being called the quote unquote GTA clone as other games in that time frame did. Saints Row even had multiplayer to the game. At a time when online gaming was picking up steam, Saints Row got in on the fun from Protect the Pimp. Each team had a pimp that the other team had to unalive in order to win. Pimps could only use canes, so teamwork was essential. They also had Big Ass Chain and Team Big Ass Chain. It's your standard garden variety team deathmatch and deathmatch. Actually, no, we'll take that back. It was more like Kill Confirm from Call of Duty. The more Big Ass Chains you got, the more you won. They also had Blowout. It was a straight team deathmatch, no gimmicks. Gangsta Brawl and Team Gangsta Brawl. That's more of your standard team. Saints Row 1 was the full package and offered something special from the rest of the cookie cutter clones before them. It also came with DLC. Most of the DLC for the first game was just clothes. It wasn't nothing special to hone in on. But the original Saints Row game, in my opinion, a fresh start. You had Grand Theft Auto and, like stated before, the other GTA clones trying to get a slice of that market. Saints Row went for its own thing. It was a gangster-esque open world crime sandbox simulator. You create your own character and just had your straight old fun. Hilarious hijinks, and you play through it and just work with it. It had a balance between the activities and the missions. Trace, what do you think or remember of the original Saints Row?
Yeah, so let me just paint the picture. Like my cousin said, this game came out August 29th of 2006. It was exclusive on Xbox 360. It was the first open world crime sandbox game from Volition at the time. And I just want to give a little content. So in the mid 2000s, we're dominated by GTA San Andreas, Halo 2, and early Xbox 360 experiment. That's how they looked at this Saints Row game. Saints Row arrived before GTA 5 in 2008. So it was a full 2-year gap between Saints Row 1 and the next Grand Theft Auto. So it was looked at as the next gen sandbox crime game at the time with HD graphics, rad dog physics, and online play, something GTA didn't have at the time. So it was really ahead of its time, quote unquote. It really did push the envelope. It went further than the last GTA game that came before it. So it really did have a lot of effort to make it stand out. And at the time, it was well received. I mean, IGN gave it an 8.4 out of 10. GameSpot gave it an 8.6 out of 10. Game Informer, ooh, I ain't said that in a long time, gave it an 8.5,
Throwback.
highlighted its online multiplayer and robust character creations. That was a major innovation at the time. A lot of praise from the community was its visuals, which is crazy when I look at the game now. The visuals was very, very impressive for early Xbox 360 titles. Its deep customization, its appearance and clothing, game colors was heavily praised. Where GTA was really starting to tone down their customization at this time that you could do with your main character. I remember that, and that's really my flack with GTA 5 is there's barely enough clothes to say there's clothes. Like there's not a lot of customization that you can do in GTA games nowadays. But other praises includes fun, chaotic open world gameplay. It felt smoother than older GTA titles at the time. And like I said, the co-op and competitive modes was another big praise for the game. The only criticism was the story. Now, none of these Saints Row games are ever going to compare to GTA games for their story. Why? Because they were meant to not take themselves too serious. You were supposed to just have fun, chaotic experience in these Saints Row games. That's what they were after. That's what they wanted to capture. In a sense, they were trying to be the complete opposite of GTA in their storytelling. They did, performance issues wasn't issues, but overall, the Saints Row was heavily praised. It was heavily loved. It was looked at to really push GTA and be a GTA competitor at the time. And with its online multiplayer, it really kind of revolutionized and gave GTA the idea for online playing, if you could believe it or not. Saints Row gave GTA that idea and that bug in their ear. So, the success that came from Saints Row 1 helped Volition and THQ establish a franchise and really laid out the foundation for the next Saints Row to come after. Saints Row 1 is now remembered as one of Xbox 360's earliest breakout exclusives, if you can believe it or not, at that time. And now when you look back on it, I didn't even think that, Saints Row 1 is one of Xbox's 360's one of their first big exclusives. I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, at the time, yeah, it kind of was. That and a few other games in those early days is what helped give the 360 the steam it needed to take off. That and it was the only, next gen console on the market. So yeah, it was.
Yeah, but I mean, my memory is just pretty much how the praise they said back then. It was a stopgap for GTA at the time because, it was 2 years with no GTA game being released then. And it was just fun. It was chaotic. The characters I did care about in a strange way. They were over the top, like just too much, but yet it was fun. It was funny. I
Like Johnny Cash.
remember,
That was my
yeah,
boy.
Johnny. Woo, Johnny. Listen, yo, Johnny could do no wrong, and his whole storyline from 1 to 2 is just so hilarious to me. And they had some good voice actors from the first one, even though your character don't talk in the first one at all, if I'm
Yeah,
remembering correctly. Yeah,
yeah, that's true. Your character was
wasn't
silent.
his
David?
name. Saints Row 1 did have some good voice acting, even though your character didn't talk. And it was overall a good experience at the time when I was younger. Saints Row is a pivotal game that I now look look back on with a certain nostalgia feel, even though it's still not relevant to this day. But back then, it was very much a pivotal point in my love for gaming at the time in 2006. So,
Mhm.
Saints Row is one of those games that it was like, I feel like when studios do their first swing at a game, it really is you either hit or you miss.
Absolutely.
And fortunately, they hit on Saints Row 1. And so it gave them the confidence to build upon Saints Row 1. And that's why I kind of love Saints Row 1. It was such a good foundation going forward. And honestly, it was a blueprint that they should have always kept with going forward. So, but we'll get into that as we talk about the other Saints Row games. But you got anything else about Saints Row 1?
It was truly a breath of fresh air.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, because during that time period, everyone tried to stick to the tried and true formula of just copying everything GTA did. And here you had a developer that was like, nah, no, we're going to do something different. You know, GTA did not invent the open world crime sandbox S game. Yes, they heavily popularized it and they made it their own thing. But Saints Row was like, hey, we can do that. They made, like I said, you had a character creator. The story ain't nothing to ride home about. It really ain't. But it was a game made to be fun and funny. You made your character, you did the missions, and a lot of them were crazy hijink missions that GTA would probably never do. And I just loved it. The aiming, even though a lot of people feel a little controversial about that, I enjoyed that because GTA at the time, that lock on aiming was very piss poor. So to have you control your own aiming manually, but like I said, it had its ups and downs. It was on the new console. It was the first game in it. It had a lot of bugs. Saints Row crashed, had lots of bugs. But like Bethesda in the early days, it was known for that in a funny and good way. You could be chasing somebody and your car crash or you lose control of it. You shoot through the windshield and crash into something else and cause an explosion. You're like, oh man. And instead of getting mad, oh, okay. Even if it cost you the mission, you just redid it. But the first Saints Row was pretty hard. If you didn't dwell into the activities and the side things of the game, you suffered from it. Like you could walk into stores and rob them, take the stuff to your car, and had to get away from it. GTA didn't allow you to do that if it was not part of a particular mission or something. So they did their best to carve out their own unique little slice of the open world genre. But I enjoyed it. It was a very good game.
Yeah, yeah. And the characters that the game, like I said, Johnny is a well-known character, but I feel like Saints Row really did a good job setting up characters that you cared about. It did a good job of showing the progression of being in a gang and how you start off and how you grow and how you become someone that's important in the game and you're actually, going up against another gang and trying to establish territory and things like that. I feel like Saints Row 1 did a lot of good things as far as those things. Even though the story itself was quote unquote fun and outrageous and not really serious, I felt like the setup of yes, the story was over the top, but the setup for it with its side characters, its relationships, its how you progress in the game was really well thought out, like a GTA game, if not better at
Absolutely.
that point in time. Yeah, Saints Row should be looked as a real pillar of gaming. It did push game forward, whether it gets its rightful credit or not. It did. Just off the multiplayer and the co-op stuff. Like that was just really new for sandbox games at the time. So Saints Row really is a pivotal game and it always should be held in high regard. Even though the story is a little crazy, is it realistic? No. Did they ever try to go for realistic? No. They said we're going for fun and you're gonna have a great ass fucking time. And I think they
Absolutely.
accomplished
And
that.
and not even just that, you made me remember there are a lot of subtle little details in Saints Row were not and still to this day are not put into game. Like if you get into a car accident in Saints Row, the tail light can be cracked and shattered. The side view mirror will fall off. Little things like that, where that does not happen generally in games like that today, unless it's probably Rockstar themselves if they put that in there. If your character would drink a 40 ounce or whatever that you need to heal yourself, he'll drop the actual thing on the cup on the ground, and it would stay there. It'll stay there for a good minute. The same thing for cigars or reloading and changing the magazine. It would sit there. Your bullets would drop and fall to it. This was probably some of the reasons why it probably struggled a little bit or had the bugs, keeping track of things like that. But it was just different. It was innovative in that those little things, your average gamer takes that for granted, but I loved it looking back on it as I recently replayed it for. And the multiplayer, well, I ain't gonna lie, it sounds stupid, but Protect the Pimp was really hilarious back then. Running around with the foam finger trying to slap people, and like the game mode said, protect your pimp. It put a non-stereotypic look on gang violence in a video game. It didn't make it to where, oh, maybe graphics and gory and try to go for shock value as Hollywood in their movies. It went just for straight fun. Even the was detailed down to the sidewalk that you're on. If you would go to a building, the building's walls were identified in the mini map. Every little thing. And I love that. And games just, they don't do that anymore. Those minute little details. Moving on, we're going to go with Saints Row
Woo!
2.
Baby, let me
The
just
GOAT.
say, let me just say, this is forever, ever my Cinderella Saints Row game. It is the favorite. It is my favorite. This is the top of the pyramid, the mountaintop. Saints Row 2 is my love child to this day. I will always, no one can tell me different about Saints Row 2 being the best Saints Row game ever made. I don't care. I will argue up and down. And for whatever reason, the people at Saints Row, the creator of said game and said franchise, believe they should have never made a remaster or remake, whatever you want to call it. And all the community of Saints Row fans have said remaster Saints Row 2. And for whatever reason, he continues to say no. I don't understand people that just don't want to make money. But Saints Row 2, my love child. Yes, my favorite Saints Row. I've had hundreds of countless gameplay hours clocked in Saints Row 2, still to this day. And I've been someone on this platform who has constantly said I am bougie when it comes to graphics. I don't want to look at old, ugly shit. I will play Saints Row right now and with ease. I don't give a fuck. That's how fun Saints Row 2 is, was, and forever be. Listen, this is my love letter to Saints Row 2.
I 100% agree with Saints Row 2 is the of the series. Everyone, and when I say everyone, I mean everyone, and loves Saints Row 2. Saints Row 2 launched on 360, PS3, and PC, no longer being a Xbox exclusive. Saints Row 2 came back bigger and better. Better gameplay. Now they added co-op to the mix, further separating themselves from being called a GTA clone and trying to show the market they were something original all on their own. Stillwater's map got bigger, more activities, side missions, now strongholds to complete, and collectibles. The shooting got tighter, less bugs than the original, but still buggy, but more tolerable, but not as bad as the first game. Character creation became better, now allowing for a woman character to be made with more options. You can tailor your combat style, voice options, and fat size. You could control how fat you were. The game could be played from start to finish in two-player co-op, something GTA never allowed and still doesn't to this day. Even activities could be done together with a friend, although wanting a higher goal to be met since two players were present. Gameplay was a bit easier, but not a cakewalk. More hidden areas were added to the game world, unlocks, and player choice and customization. The game story picks up right after the first game. Now the player character looks to lead the game and bring it back to its glory from the previous. Further separate themselves from being seen as a quote-unquote GTA clone, Volition decided to up the ante. They added drop in, drop out two-player co-op, more shenanigans in activities such as the Fuzz, where you play cops being filmed for a reality TV show and need to do ridiculous things to keep the ratings fresh, such as using flamethrowers on eco protesters, stop skaters from being in the street with bats with baseball bats and using satchel charges on bank robbers. Another activity was Septic Avengers, where you use a septic tank full of shit to spray on buildings and other areas in the neighborhood to drive down property value. I wonder why no one has ever thought about doing that in real life.
You get sued.
More buildings were added for the player to go inside and explore, more stores to rob, and now weapons could be upgraded. Just as the first game, it had multiplayer. They toned it down significantly. Besides the standard team deathmatch and deathmatches Gangsta Brawl, Saints Row 2 starred Strong Arm mode with team round based objectives with the teams with the most completed objectives. Players were disappointed with Strong Arm mode. They enjoyed and missed modes like Protect. Then came its DLC. Saints Row added two DLCs. Ultor Exposed, that starred adult film star at the time Tara Patrick, and Corporate Warfare Pack, a roundup ending questions asked from the first game. A story of the mega corporation Ultor and their illegal activities and experimentation. Corporate Warfare had more Ultor Corporation involvement, but also tied to some of the lingering characters and questions of the first game. I'm just going to say this. Saints Row 2, start to finish. The co-op, it was a little janky, first go at it, but that game was amazing. From the activities to everything. Me and my cousin would play that non-stop. Hell, sometimes we didn't even do the missions. We just ran around causing chaos. And let me add this. This game came out in 2008. It came out after GTA 4 came out, which came out in April. This came out in October. And still, many people played this game. Still, many people bought it and loved and enjoyed it because there were many things you could not do in GTA that you could do in Saints Row. The co-op, for example. Modern games struggle to make co-op games where one player can be on one side of the map and another player on another. They use a tether system, so it's not so much straining, taxing on the GPU or whatever. Saints Row 2 didn't have that. While Trice was robbing a store up north and shopping at the same time to look good, I will be stealing a car, customizing it, ready to go pick her up to go just to go find the next stronghold and shoot them up. Pure costumes added, role playing. They truly did it all. And the story, re-getting your game back, rescuing Johnny Gat, the series, series darling. It was, oh man, you just had to be there. Like there really is no easy way to break it down. And yes, by today's standards, it's old, it's aged, but I say, hey, it still lives up to its name. I'll do a Let's Play right now and start from scratch. Still remembering some of the unlocks that you need to do for the game. A masterpiece in the making. What you got, Treese?
Yeah, listen, I told you this is just nothing but you'll never probably hear me gush over a game more than I do for Saints Row 2. Probably ever in this show's in just lifetime. But just some other facts. Saints Row 2 was built using Felicia's in-house engine and served as a direct sequel to the 2006 Xbox exclusive. It was their first time going multi-platform release, so they thought having an in-house engine will help smooth out a lot of the hiccups the first game went through and all the, the crashing and all that. Now, I feel like Saints Row 2 was a better playing experience than Saints Row 1. But it still had some here's and there's problems. But no open world game, sandbox game at that time could go without some type of issues. But it definitely wasn't as bad as the first one. Now, context gaming in 2008, the open world genre was booming with GTA 4 had released that April of 2008, massive, and it went on to have massive acclaim. It set a new benchmark for realism, story depth, and production value. Many expected Saints Row 2 to be overshadowed, but Volition went in the complete opposite direction, embracing humor, chaos, and player freedom. Rather that cinematic realism, its slogan captured that contrast. It's not about what you want, it's about what you need. And that's a very interesting phrase for one of the top developers at the time, because where GTA 4 went gritty and super serious and real and realistic, Saints Row 2 went wild, colorful, and absurd. And gamers love the fun and the freedom that Saints Row 2 brought to them versus what GTA 4 had brought. Now, not saying GTA 4 wasn't a great game. It was a good game for what it was trying to do. For Saints Row 2, it said, yeah, everything that GTA is going for, we're going for the complete opposite. And so it was a breath of fresh air, even if those games came out in the same year. And content is totally different ends of that same year, but still, where you get serious and over realistic and a real tired, drawn out story, you get a fun, colorful, absurd. Hey, play with your friends, bring somebody into your game, fucking cause chaos. It was such a breath of fresh air, and I really think they took their lessons from Saints Row 1 and really said, hey, let's fix everything we got wrong in the first game and let's do better in the second game. And that's why it became such a good product. Because why? They actually took the negative from the first game and they say, hey, how can we fix this? And they fixed it. And that's what I'm saying. Saints Row 2 is such a great game, even till this day, and until this open world genre and all that, and even like other GTAs. Like when I say in the level of fun, I've probably had more fun playing Saints Row 2 than any GTA game. Now, let me just say
Mm,
fun. I'm
those are some
emphasizing the
serious
fun.
accusations.
No, but let me break it down, because when I say fun, I brought my cousin into my game and we just did shenanigans for hours and hours and hours. I can't do that on GTA 5 single player mode. For us to have said shenanigans, we have to play online, and said shenanigans is just not me and my cousin. It's me, my cousin, and 30 other people that's in the lobby. I'm not saying that's not a fun experience for a certain amount of time, but it's something to be said to where I can bring my cousin into my world. He can look at my garage, he can see my cars, he can see my outfits, he can see how I pimped out my house. There's just a certain level of fun that GTA never ever capture, because they don't allow people in your game unless it's online. And like I said, online is just not you and one other person. It's you and like 30 people in a lobby. Listen, Saints Row 2, and I'm saying at that time, gave something that GTA just could never give. So when my cousins say we played and beat Saints Row several times. We probably platted it too, because I think we did a playthrough where we try to do everything in the game. That's why, honestly, looking back on Saints Row 2, I have such love and I adore the game such more than I do. I think the only GTA that I can look back on that can even rival it is San Andreas, honestly. Because 5 is no. 4, I don't like Nico, so no. So yeah, like the only thing that's coming up on the fun scale level, I have to preference on just the fun scale level, is GTA San Andreas. And it's something to be said that the older games, I mean, this came out in 2008, we're in 2025, like, I just think it was an emphasis, and the competition was so high back then. Mofos wanted you to have fun with their game. They wanted to leave you with an impression, so in 2 years they can come back and sell you another product. And I just think this is why I said gaming has just deteriorated since then, because of the nickel and dime and the evil mechanics that EA has brought, and all the season passes, mumbo jumbo. Like, you just don't have this pure sense of a company wanting to make a good game. That's not the norm today. The norm is, how do we put something in front of a consumer, and then how can we leech on them for 5 years off live service shit? That is the norm now. Listen, Saints Row 2 is forever, ever beloved. And at the time, it was getting very high praise. Like I said, IGN rated it 8.7. GameSpot had 8.8. Game Informer gave it right under a 9, which I don't even understand that score. They gave it a 8.9, which is basically a 9 out of 10. And the critics loved it. And it's very rare for critics and consumers to agree on anything. They noted the freedom, the replayability with multiple story paths and side missions, and then the tone of it was dark humor, very exaggerated stories, was refreshing counterpart to GTA 4. The co-op gameplay, the variety variety of skydiving, base jumping, gang warfare. It felt like a sandbox playground, and it was very much a pinnacle of everything that a sandbox game should offer its consumers. And Saints Row 2 cemented Violation's reputation for player freedom and personality. It sold over 3.5 million copies within its first year, a major success for THQ at the time. Set the creativity tone for future games. Lean even harder into absurd humor and over the top action. Even today, it is rumored as the most balanced and beloved entry. Chaotic but heartfelt, edgy but fun. Yes, and yeah, I agree with that whole statement. Saints Row 2, like I said, can do no wrong in my eyes. It really gave me the ability to just make a character into whatever I wanted. Whatever I
Whatever
wanted.
you want.
Listen, me and my cousin used to spend hours just saying, "Hey, we gotta go. I gotta go to the store and I gotta buy a new outfit." And we'll spend time in the
Hmm.
shopping store saying, "Hey, this store ain't got the color I'm looking for. We gotta go to another one," because each store gave something different. Like we would spend time literally trying to put on the best outfit, which is just hilarious thinking back on. In today's game, you probably will never do that. You'll never have that experience in today's game. Chef kiss. But yeah, that's Saints Row 2. That's some of my beloved memories. The side activities were fucking fun and hilarious and out of this world. Once again, the side characters were well developed, well flushed out. I actually cared about doing the side characters missions and stuff like that. The gangs that you went up against were hilarious and ridiculous once again. And I just love everything that Saints Row 2 did and had to offer. Customizing your homes, your different hideouts, having so many custom car options. When I say I used to be like, yo, hold on, I gotta switch cars. I gotta go to this looking car before we set
Yep.
off. And then my cousin be like, yo, my car better than yours. I said, you're smoking something. Listen, I used to pull out all my
Don't forget the
cars.
shoes.
Yeah,
Don't forget the shoes.
yo, it was a true competition of who can customize the better car. So it's just you just had to be there. You'll never recreate that feeling that Saints Row 2 had in '08 and anything that's released in today's age. But Saints Row 2, man, and I don't know why they won't remaster it. I just don't understand. They know this was the pinnacle of all Saints Row games and they won't remaster it. And I just don't know why.
They just want to leave money on the table. I mean, at some point, I could see like, oh well, the today's climate is just not up to par. That okay, but it's a video game, people.
You
Let
remaster
it
the
go.
other ones. You remaster the other ones. So that's not an excuse. If you remaster any Saints Row games, that already means that you already are up for ridiculous and swinging dildos and all this other
Hmm.
shenanigans that Saints Row games brought. So there is no excuse for Volition not remastering Saints Row 2 over multiple generations of consoles where the consumers had pleaded with these people to remaster. Please remaster Saints Row 2. We want this. I will never understand a very dependent industry because you depend on sales, you depend on your consumers being interested in your products, and when they show such interest, you go the opposite direction. People been told Assassin's Creed to be in Japan years ago, decades ago, and they was like, nah, we'll go back to Europe and we'll go to America. No one asked you to do that. Why are you giving us shit we didn't ask for? So that's the only gripe I have on Saints Row 2 and Volition, as far as Saints Row 2 comes, is that the fact that it hasn't been remastered since its release, and it's very unfortunate. Is actually it's a crime that Saints Row 2 hasn't been remastered and all these other Saints Row games have. I just don't understand. I will never understand it until I get my Saints Row 2 remastered. And Volition, I know you've been doing some stupid shit as of late, but if you can scramble up some funds, you need to remaster Saints Row 2. I feel like that could give you a lifeline of relevancy in today's age if you remaster Saints Row 2. Because Saints Row 2, just think about it. If Saints Row 2 was to release as a true new game, I think it will sell gangbusters. I just say that because it's customization. if it had up-to-date graphics, it's not gonna go for realism, so it's still gonna be that cartoonish look. Like, I think in today's age of open world games, it would do very, very well. Maybe, and I am biased. I do say I love Saints Row 2 with shit with no shame. So, maybe you think I'm biased. Let me know in the comments, but definitely let me know if you played Saints Row 2 back when it first released, how you felt. How did you feel playing with your friends on co-op and multiplayer? What did you have such a great experience that I did? And do you romanticize
Such a
Saints Row
great
2?
experience.
Do you romanticize Saints Row 2 like I do as well?
Yeah, so the only reason you do know Volition closed, they went out of business.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, like,
Oh,
but some
okay, okay.
yeah, they closed. I'm saying when I say that, I'm not saying Volition makes a new
Oh,
game.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
saying
yeah, yeah,
if
yeah, their
a
publisher still got stuff.
yeah,
Yeah, okay.
if there was a Saints Row 2 light game, it could be made by anybody, but if it had the same components as Saints Row 2, it would sell gangbusters. It would
Oh, hell yeah.
sell. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, bruh,
And
if
you know
you
what's
just
funny is that while we're sitting here talking about GTA clones and etc., where did the GTA clones go? Because in 12 years, time a GTA has not come out. Somebody could have made a GTA X clone and made hella money filling that gap.
I guess I mean, like I said, GTA is big fish in the tank, and they don't even want to be anywhere near the tank of the big fish. But yeah, it's been 12 years. They definitely could have had a stopgap, like Saints Row 1 was looked at as a stopgap. Yeah, they definitely. That's actually, yeah, that's a good point. I wonder why. You could have learned all the lessons of Saints Row releases and just made something that didn't fuck up like the later Saints Row games did, and you probably could have had something. I don't know. That's an interesting thought, though. Yeah, it's been 12 years.
But moving on. Now, this one, I don't care how anyone takes it. Saints Row 3, a downgrade and an improvement in certain aspects.
I can't wait to hear this.
Saints Row 3 took the kids' gloves off in a sense. To finally make sure they differentiate themselves from GTA, Saints Row dove deep into the zany, hijinks, and tongue in cheek humor, while GTA got more serious. Saints Row went for more laughs and jokes. The third game changed things up a bit. They changed the city, and now the game took place in Stillport, leaving Stillwater behind. A more dark, industrial esque city setting than Stillwater. Gameplay got tighter. Once more, less bugs, next to no bugs, less crashes, more precision gameplay, and more options to have fun. But in doing so, they lost some key aspects that made the first two games great. The minimap was gray, lacked detail from the last games. The city seemed dark, not as vibrant as Stillwater, but it may have been a design choice. With the focus on making co-op more stable and seamless, multiplayer was completely stripped from the game. They added a horde mode, spelled whore, a mock of horde mode, a co-op wave-based gameplay made serious by the Gears of War games. Horde mode was just for two players or solo. This time they also changed the story. This time they took a change with more corporate branding and fame, a tale of revenge and takeover. Gone was the gangster vibe and setting, and focused more on corporate espionage. The Volition did increase the fun factor, as I mentioned, from the adding of a fart in a jar weapon that could be thrown and made enemies throw up, a shark gun that's in its name, you shoot. A shark will shoot up from the underground and eat said enemy, the infamous dildo bats, and tons more. More activities were added again to match the tone, from Heli Assault, Yankee Bowl, and Guardian Angel, tearing through the city in an assault helicopter causing mayhem, a reality TV show where you fight through a gauntlet to reach the end, and finally watching over a teammate while they run errands and keep them alive. Once again, Saints Row 3 added DLC, this time 3 packs instead of 2. There was more Genki Bowl, more of the reality TV show, running through hoops and dangerous obstacles to win over the crowd. Gangsters in space, more of the corporate branding. Saints Row were a household name and brand worth millions. They were making a movie based off themselves, playing themselves in space. And Trouble with the Clones. take on weird science movie reference. And like I said, this will probably be controversial. I felt some type of way about Saints Row 3, as I did with Mass Effect
How
2.
so? Oh, here we go. Oh god.
Even
He's about
though
to say
they
something stupid.
excuse me, even though they tightened up and fixed a lot of things, they kind of pulled back a lot of things as well. Like I stated, and the mini map, very lackluster. They took a lot of detail away. And maybe that was for the better. Maybe having all that stuff there was really taxing the system, and that was where a lot of the bugs and issues came from. To me, customization, it kinda to me it was a little more stagnant. Like I said, they had more of the corporate branding. They went a little more kind of realistic. If you made a male or a female character, that was more distinctly more of a male female character. But I'm not saying that the game still was not fun. Because I know for a
Mhm.
fact, at least for an hour, me and my cousin would beat each other's ass with that dildo dance. A mission would end. We would go buy new clothes and shoes for the next mission, and whoever took the longest and got caught slipping, that bat went across your face, and the next person took off running. The fart in the jar, that was hilarious. When the cops would come to rain on our fun because we're sitting up shooting up and beating up each other in the stores, I hurled them farts in the jar continuously. Like, hey, go get a car. I'll keep them busy. Because once it exploded, your enemies were immobile. The gun upgrades, everything, even the co-op itself was much more stable. The drop in, drop out esque was, and I do mean that in every sense of the word. Saints Row 2 co-op would cut you to like a menu. You had to wait for the player to load in, and it would kind of reload the game in a sense, and you all be together. Whereas Saints Row 3, they just came in. No matter what you was doing, whether you were robbing a store, buying up some new shoes, or whatever mission you was doing, they just popped in and they could pop right back out. As stated before, they went more with the hijinks. So customization was a lot of mascot outfits, costume packs, try to just push the emphasis on the word fun. GTA was still pushing the serious narrative, dark, more gritty tone. Volition was like, nah, hold my beer, bro. Hey, we're about three little words here. FUN. Even the story of the corporate takeover S thing with the luchadors and the little nerd hackers in the game. Everything was fun. We could play for hours and not have nothing go wrong. Saints Row 2, I'm not saying we had issues, but you let maybe a few hours go by, someone's game crashed and you had to reload everything. But boy, hey Trees, let's go up north real quick. I wanted to buy a new shirt. While I'm sitting there shopping, somebody hits her car. I come back outside like, hey, it's 3 stars. Yo, why is the FBI here? Who are
Oh,
these
yeah.
people? What's happening? Because that was another thing they did. If you were too far away from your partner, if they got in trouble with the law, you were cool. But you got close, like, yo, what's happening? As the law's chasing them, they were chasing you. And just like with the mention of the heli assault, Trace would be in the middle of some shit, like, hey, I'll be back. I would literally go and either get a plane or a helicopter. And you're talking to someone who does not like to fly in video games. I am not a good flying person in video games. That's not my thing. I am more of a driver. But Saints Row made me learn to fly. I wanted to fly those hijink vehicles, the jet, the assault helicopter. If you completed all of these activities or some things, you got special branded vehicles in the Saints purple and the Fleur de Lis emblem on it. It was still a good game. But like I said, those could have been design choices on how they scaled back some of that stuff to make the stability whole. Because the hijink moments we had in 2, yeah, that didn't happen a lot. We made our own fun. Because I know good and well, in 2, I hit a hot fire hydrant, the water would tip the car over, swerve and crash, explode into a small kiosk. Trice is out running like, yo, what the fuck happened? I'm not paying attention. I get killed. And that kind of happened, but more on our turn. There were, a great way to put it. There were less happy accidents. That's the best way I can put it. Shout out to you, Bob Ross. But Trace, what do you have to say about?
Yeah, so Saints Row 3, on PS3, Xbox 360, PC. So this is where it kind of starts to tumble downhill as far as Saints Row games for me. Not saying Saints Row 3 wasn't a fun or a good game at all, but I started to see some shifts But like the
Mhm.
previous games, this game was built on a in-house engine, for purposes of making the game more stable and have less crash. Now, the contents, this game came out November 15th, 2011. So early 2010s were dominated by cinematic realism and gritty tones in games such as GTA 4, Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 3, Batman Arkham City. So that's kind of where we are at in the video game industry. And once again, Violation took opposite approach. They said we're not competing with that serious tone, that realistic tone. We want to go absurd and pure player fun, which this game still does. And it launched in a packed year that featured Skyrim, Uncharted 3, and Modern Warfare 3. So it was a lot of competition, heavy competition in this 2011 year, but still, it still got great feedback, scores, 84 out of 100. How did we jump to 100 out of 10? Anyway, 84 is 86, right there. IGN gave it a 9 out of 10. Game Informer gave it a 9 out of 10. GameSpot gave it a 8.5 out of 10. So still well received by critics. Emphasize insane freedom, over the top humor, polish and well performance, co-op integration and pacing. What they criticize is the tone shift. And like I said, I think this is kind of where I was starting to feel. Some long-term fans miss the dark, revenge-driven tone of Saints Row 2. Story depth. The story wasn't as emotionally impactful as 2. I did not really care for most of the side characters. This is where they start
No.
to lose me as far as the side characters. Many people complain that the main story campaign was too short. Some finished
Oh, yes, it was.
yeah, well before 9 hours of gameplay. And a lot of people criticize them for removing certain features and activities, and that the customization options was way less than Saints Row 2. And that's another thing. This is that
Mhm.
you're talking about the reason why I love Saints Row 2. Like I said, me and my cousin would spend hours at the clothing store changing the color of our certain outfits and setups and change and hats and shirts, shoes, socks. Like that's how we going. In Saints Row 2 in the store. We're not even talking about the auto shop for our cars. So if you're stripping that, then you're stripping my love for the game. That's why I said Saints Row 2 is the start for me as the tumble for the franchise in its entirety. And that was kind of Saints Row 3 in a nutshell. Now, I do recognize that Saints Row 3 is their best performing Saints Row game ever. It sold over
Which
5.5
is
million.
up.
If it sold 5.5 million copies within its first year, it was THQ's biggest commercial hit ever, which I don't understand how 2 didn't sell more. Maybe it was because it released in the same year as GTA. Maybe that is a reason and why people are running from GTA 6 release date. But the game success led to major DLC packs. My cousin already talked about Gangsters in Space, The Trouble with Clones. It got remastered later in 2020. No one asked for that. People were very upset that they didn't do Saints Row 2 instead of 3, but whatever. The legacy of Saints Row 3, the third, marked a peak of the franchise popularity in the community of gaming. It fully embraces identity, wow, self-aware, and unapologetic ridiculousness. It influenced the tone of Saints Row 4, which, the sequel, duh. It was widely considered the definition of fun first open world game of its era. Saints Row, the moment it is classified as the moment that Saints Row stopped living in the shadow of GTA and became its own thing. I kind of disagree with that because I felt like it did that in Saints Row 2. Like I said, that is the complete context of when Saints Row 3 came out. Now, I did have fun playing this game. Yes, it does have a lot of elements in this game that I like from the second one. Yes, I can agree with a lot of things. They started taking stuff out. And for better or for worse,
Mhm.
was that if that was for game performance or not. You can't show me that you can make a game in the second one and have all the things included and then tell me you can't make the third one like that for stability wise. You can't go down. You only can go up. You only go in one direction, okay? Like you cannot achieve something and then say it's unachievable in the next game. The lowering of customization options really did hurt this game for me personally. As far as the shenanigans with all the different shenanigan weapons, like yes, that was fun, but it cannot cover up my disappointment, less customization, and some of the fun activities that was on the second one that is not on the third one. It can't cover up that negative. For me, that's why Saints Row 3 is always kind of I always look at it as a bittersweet experience because it was the start of the downfall for the franchise. It started to lose its way in my eyes
Mhm.
at this point. And some people can probably contribute that hey, because Saints Row 3 was such a success, they made the most money they have ever made on any Saints Row 3. That led to them losing who they were and who they are in their whole mission statements of making a fun game. And they started to get a little high off their own supply, basically. And it's really unfortunate. It's really unfortunate because Saints Row should, in all honesty, still be making to this day, like GTA 6
Yep.
is coming. Like honestly, Saints Row could still be a relevant competitor, but not competitor to GTA. It could just be the cousin that you see every so often from another cousin. Like they just bring something different to the gaming community that is still missed to this day. I can't think of a game that gives you all the best elements of Saints Row. Any Saints Row games that were good, I preference. There's no game on the market that gives you that. I can't think of nothing. GTA
No,
has
no, there really
has
isn't.
yeah, GTA has went on full realism. They haven't looked back. They don't care about customizations. Every game has less and less clothes in the single player mode, less and less customization. You can barely get haircuts in GTA 5. The haircuts is very, very middle school. It looked like somebody that was 5 years old. You probably only got six options. So customization has long been abandoned by Rockstar and GTA, unfortunately. And there is no game that's going to give you that itch like the Saints Row 2, 1 through 3 did at the time, unfortunately. And that's really sad and unfortunate. So, in a nutshell, what are your final thoughts on Saints Row 1 through 3?
They were the new cup of tea we didn't know we needed, and now we miss it and need it back very seriously. I agree with you in saying Saints Row should not have taken the turn it did, but we'll cover that on part two of this. It should still be going because in the huge gap left by GTA, Saints Row could have probably done maybe 3 games filling that gap, that
Mhm.
open world crime esque thing, and they probably would have evolved on the gameplay. Instead of being 2 players, it probably would have got the 3 player co op. 4 probably just be a little too much, in my opinion, but 2 and 3, that's a nice sweet spot. And it gave you a playground for you to have fun and enjoy yourself. Whereas GTA games is more you are playing in Rockstar's world and you're going to hear the story and stuff they want you to do. Whereas Saints Row is like, hey, make your story. Have the fun you want to enjoy because you can listen to any Saints Row player from back in the day and be like, oh man, how'd you do it with this or so and so that mission? Oh man, we did this. I used to use that truck. Oh yeah, that one monster truck. Yeah, I used to use that and ran through the police station. There's so much that those games offered and probably we took for granted because we probably didn't know that we would be where we're at now where it's gone.
Mhm.
But I don't care what no one says, is the true of the franchise. I will always go back and be down for Saints Row 2. Even if I have to start a whole new character, I'm like, hey, that's cool. I played the game enough to know what I want to do, how I want to do, and what I would try differently. I enjoy 1. A little rough around the edges. Like I said, it's a little tough, a little different, but still great. And then even 3. We can see how things were changing, and then, like you said, why they probably pivoted the way they did. It's selling so much more than 2. And I never thought about it that what you said. Maybe because 2 came out the same year as GTA 4, even though they were months apart. GTA 4 came out in April. This came out in October. Maybe that's not enough. Maybe the staying power of GTA is truly I do miss those.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there
What are
is
your
listen, there is a notable gap for this type of game in today's gaming environment. But in short, and these are my final thoughts. In short, Saints Row 1 built the foundation of the franchise,
Hmm.
to where Saints Row 2 found the soul of the franchise, and Saints Row
Ooh. Mm.
3 cracked the chaos thermostat through the fucking roof. So they each kind of was like a pivotal point in a triangle of games. And like I said, Saints Row 3 is still a good game. I'm not saying that it didn't deserve the ranks that it did. But like I said, Saints Row 2, it found the soul of the franchise, and it is always looked at as the pinnacle Saints Row game out of all of them. Even when you rival it up to 3, people were pissed. People were pissed that Volition decided to remaster 3 and not 2. They were pissed.
Oh man, yes, I was like, yo, I was like, oh, we're gonna do the. I can't remember their wording at the time, but they were saying like, we're gonna remaster the best Saints Row, the one that everybody loved. Everyone just knew, oh, Saints Row 2 coming back. And it was like, oh yeah, Saints Row the third remaster. Was like, what? Yeah,
Yeah.
I was
Man,
very
and
excited.
yeah, clearly they looked at the sales of 3 over what the community felt of 2. Because I even with your eyes closed, you can see that the community loved 2 more than 3. Even if you blind, you're deaf, you can still figure out that 2 is still the folk favorite out of all Saints Row. But yeah, it went from gritty streets to absolute madness, and I loved every step of that ride between 1 and 3, honestly. They are the trilogy, the true trilogy in my eyes. Anything that came out the Saints Row 3 was just an embarrassment and a soulless attempt to create something that was already perfect and didn't need to change that much, just updated and probably with a new story. It's really unfortunate and it's really sad. I know I said this repeatedly. It's just sad how Saints Row went out, and we'll cover that whole breakdown on part 2 of the series. But yeah, that's my final thoughts. Saints Row 1 was the foundation. Saints Row 2 found the soul, and Saints Row 3 was just complete chaos in a fun joyride. I really appreciate these games. They really were a pivotal point in my younger childhood days. They gave me unbelievable moments with my cousin playing online and memories that I will remember forever. And I don't think no game, even with GTA 6 coming out, and there's still sandbox games that are technically being made, but I don't think there is ever going to be a sandbox game that ever comes close to the feel and the joy that I got from playing these Saints Row games. And
No,
that's
no.
very unfortunate. It's very sad that today's kids can't experience such a enjoyable play of a game like that. And that's why I say gaming is just it's going downhill because it's losing its soul. It's really losing its soul. I'm not here to preach, and I know I sound like I'm preaching, but I just feel like people like that is the age of my nephew. He's 9. He's just never going to experience pure fun and chaos like this, to let that just what Saints Row experience gave us as we was younger. It's just never going to be repeated ever in life again, unfortunately.
No, it won't. And the sad thing is, even if that publisher one day was like, hey, we're going to come back to the series, the original people who know what the series was, that made it what it was, they're not there. It would not be the same. The
Yeah.
best that could be done is, well, 3 was already remastered and remade.
Mhm.
So
Oh
that tells you
god.
about how they're squeezing that. The best thing would be do to just take 1 and 2, make a remaster double pack. Call it a day. Don't remake it because they'll fuck with something they don't need to be touched with. They will do it. There'll be
Mhm.
something about it that made the game special. Like, oh yeah, what's the verbiage they use? Oh, we brought it with modern audience thinking. No, no, don't do that. Don't do that.
No, no, no,
Just,
no.
yeah, just remaster it, call it a day, let us have it in our memories, bring it up to modern console standards. We get make it 1080p, 60 frames, and I'm good. I'm
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, if I can play Saints Row 2 60 frames, oh god. Oh god, I just listen, you can't take my money any more easily.
Hmm.
Jesus.
If they came out and Sony made a deal and said, "Hey, you're gonna get Saints Row 1 and 2, all DLC, 1080p, 60 for $70."
With
Here you
ease.
go. I ain't gonna complain. Hey, you got a collector's edition, a deluxe? I need some extra money if you're gonna give me some extra with it. But
Yes,
let us
yes,
know your
yes.
thoughts in the comments. Were you there to experience any of these games? The fun, the highs, the lows, the hijinks. I mean, I ain't gonna lie, that Septic Avenger thing, or even some of the hidden areas of Saints Row 2. How you can get the
Mhm.
limo, the Jamaican gang,
Mhm.
if you knew how
Mhm.
to quit the game a certain way, you could take his
Yeah.
limousine,
Yeah.
bulletproof limousine. Oh yeah, I remember when I learned that out. Yo, I made a whole new game to start over to do that, because once you beat them, that was it. Couldn't do
Yeah, you
anything.
couldn't
Even though
yep,
they
couldn't
allowed
get
you
it.
to replay missions, it wasn't the same.
Yeah, definitely,
Got
and
those
let me
comments.
know yeah, let me know in the comments which Saints Row out of 1, 2, and 3 is your favorite. Cause a lot of there are some people that disagree that 2 is not the best out of the bunch, but let me know, but I feel like 2 is the peak.
I don't know what they're
I
talking about.
It's the peak of the mountaintop, baby. So let me know what you think
Absolutely.
in the comments below. Oh yeah, and stay tuned too, because we are gonna cover the other Saints Row games in part
Look
2 of
forward to a
this.
part two.
Yeah, and we're gonna tell the absolute truth. You can look at part 1 as a Cinderella story, and part 2 as a well
The
successful
conclusion.
yeah, a well successful person that got hooked on some type of drug and then just went and crashed. The crash out story of Saints Row Part 2 is coming, pending, and it's on its way, and I hope to see you there.
And that's it for this video of Are You Not Entertained podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell so you'll never miss our next hot take. Until next time, are you not entertained?